Welcome to a Legalbytes presentation of the Alec Baldwin trial. If you're new here, my name is Alita. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and DC, and on this channel, we make sense of the law one bite at a time. If you want more on the background of the Alec Baldwin case, check out our video on it, linked in the description below. But otherwise, you be the jury. Is Alec Baldwin responsible for the death of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins as the man handling the revolver that killed her? Or is he being unfairly targeted as an actor who actually shouldn't be expected to be in charge of firearm safety? Tell us what you think. But in the process, the one rule is don't be a dingus. Remember, everyone comes from their own perspective and opinion, and everyone comes to conclusions at their own pace. Agree or disagree, but always respectfully. Okay, let's get into it. All right, everyone. There is some drama this morning in the courtroom. They just started the hearing like 5 minutes ago ish, something like that. Something like that. And right off the bat, we're gonna hear some drama from the defense about an email that they got from someone watching the court feed. I don't know have any of you guys seen, like, someone tagged me in a tweet where they had a screenshot from yesterday's feed where there was one point that the screenshot caught Carrie Morrissey and she was making a certain gesture, if you know what I mean. And the allegation was, hey, like, is she giving the finger? And is she communicating to the jury right now out of frustration or something? So yeah. So we are about to get into it. So I was like, already, knowing that we were going to be a little bit behind starting, we usually do in case there's any breaks so we can fast forward. But yeah, this is going to be wild. Also, Kimmy Stahl 1975 gifted 1 Legalbytes membership. Thank you so much for doing that. Very kind and generous. So Brittany Chanel, you've been gifted a membership by Kimmy Stahl 1975. So I think that's a welcome back to Bite Club. Very happy to have you here. Hope you guys can both join for the members only live stream tomorrow at 10. I was going to say 10 a.m. East Coast time. I just remembered. Because of a thing that I completely forgot about. I'm going to move it to 9 a.m. East Coast time. Don't worry. I'm going to be putting posts and stuff on the community tab about that. So 9 a.m. East Coast time tomorrow. Okay, folks, let's get to it, shall we? The drama. Okay.
Let us argue your motion.
Your Honor, just very briefly, first, given the nature of this, can Corporal Hancock step out of the room?
Oh, yes.
That's okay.
I'm intending to take testimony from her. She can step out before you.
Sure.
Heather Miller, thanks so much for the super chat. Happy Friday. Will Hannah be brought in wearing street clothes or jail clothes with handcuffs? She would be with street clothes, I believe. However,
one thing that I just want to alert the court.
Sorry, we're going to get into this. Let me answer this really quick. I believe it would be, I assume it would be street clothes. However, I think that she's reportedly expected to plead the fifth. So that wouldn't even be in front of the jury necessarily, I don't think. And apparently she's not coming today from what I saw reports on Twitter from, I think it was Anjanette Levy from Law and Crime who reported that, because apparently the prosecution is a little bit behind in their testimony from what they were expecting to do. So it doesn't really surprise me based on how things kind of dragged yesterday with Miss Popple's testimony particularly. So that she might end up testifying, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, in whatever way, whether it's just to plead the fifth or to actually give testimony. That might be on Monday. Apparently it's going to be on Monday.
And I'm going to bring in a photograph that somebody sent to my office, and I'll come up to the lectern if that's okay.
Yes, I would think you would argue at the lectern.
Well, this is just a side issue that I've asked Mr. Nickus to address the court on the motion.
Okay,
this is
fine.
Just a quick, and if it takes out of our time, it does. But I get many sort of inbound emails that I don't obviously read everyone or take everyone seriously, but I got one last night that indicated that the cameras are catching Miss Morrissey signaling witnesses while they're on the witness stand. And You know, I really.
Did you look to see if that was true?
I was sent a photograph that concerned me, and I felt obligated. And like I said to the court, I try to not make these issues. This is a high pressure case. I've been in many. There have been more issues in this case than I have ever seen in all of those cases combined. And so I'm sort of at a loss, but to bring it to the court's attention. So I've asked them to print me the photograph that was sent to me. I can't just continue to give the benefit of the doubt on every single thing that's occurred in this case. I just can't. And so I'll be turning that into the court. And I would just say, you know, at every turn of this, right, it's from the original case. It was, you know, I understand and very much respect the court's rulings on everything, frankly. You know, and the grand jury, you know, survived, you know, and there's no remedy. I get that. And, you know, they destroyed the gun and we have that hearing and there's no remedy. And I get that. And it's just at a certain point in the Brady discipline.
I did give you a remedy, but okay.
Well,
I didn't give you the remedy you wanted, but yes.
Fair enough. But one might say not a remedy given all of the circumstances that has a meaningful impact at this trial. And so, and then we had the Brady disclosures, and I could keep going, and I'm not going to because we have limited time. But there's just never been any. It's just, I don't know how much of it can happen with it.
Okay, let's do this. Where's the picture?
I'm having somebody print it.
Okay, all right. I am aware of what you're saying, but look, first I have to see the picture, okay? Now, let's go to the arguments of this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you can, you know, show me what you're talking about.
Okay. So now I've got to
And
go
I
back
did
into
get-
my
thank you.
notifications. I
You're welcome, Your Honor.
actually,
Since
I
we
didn't have
did
time
submit
to
the
talk
written
about it, but I've
briefing, I
seen it.
will
know
try
what
to
he's
be
talking
brief,
about.
but I think it'd be helpful to build out some of the facts so Your Honor has the chronology of how this happened and has the factual pieces to understand the severity of what's happened.
Okay.
So on November 1st, 2021, shortly after the Rust incident, Seth Kenny's on the,
Just one moment. I need Faith to get me my notebook.
of course,
My notebook. I brought it up yesterday. Might even be in my computer bag. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I'll take notes on this. All right, go ahead.
may I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. So November 1st, 2021, Seth Kenny is on a phone call with Corporal Hancock. At that point, we've heard about Seth Kenny's involvement in this, his effort to pry into what's going on with the
Let me pause this real quick, and I'm going to share another screen, which will show you what I think they're talking about. This is, I think, the photo that they are talking about here. I don't know. You know, maybe that's taking, you know, sometimes people use their that finger to point, and, you know, it could be that was just a brief moment, but I don't know. You know, also things can be reframed when they're taken out of a video context and freeze framed and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. All right. I just wanted to share that really quick, and we'll get back to the actual hearing itself.
prop card and the bullets. And so on that phone call, he's telling Corporal Hancock, then Detective Hancock, that he believes he knows where the live bullet came from. He dials in a guy named Teske, who we heard about yesterday in testimony. Teske gets on the line and Seth says, tell Detective Hancock what you know. And he says, well, Fel Reed dropped off a batch of live ammunition at my business because I have a safer place to store it. And after that, Fel shows up, grabs some of the live ammunition and leaves some behind. And that's what I know. And Seth says, well, that could be from the same batch that killed Halyna Hutchins. Could be a match. He says, and it's Fel Reed and it's Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. That's the one who's responsible here, pushing it off on Gutierrez-Reed as the source of the live ammunition, just as the state has done in this case. He says, Thank you very much. He gets off the phone. Teske says, I'll take a picture. I'm not in front of my computer, not in front of my ammunition. I'll send it in an hour. He sends a picture of 4 bullets. Ms. Morrissey is going to hold that up to you and say, these are the 4 bullets you knew about this. That was from 2021. Detective Hancock does not preserve the other live ammunition that's at Teske's property, even though he told her this could be from the live ammunition batch that matches the bullet that killed Halyna Hutchins. 2 years later, November 2nd, 2023, there's a PTI of Teske. Ms. Morrissey's asking questions, and she starts probing further into the live ammunition that Teske had previously said was given to him by Thel Reed. And she says, do you still have some of that ammunition? He says, well, some of it, but I've been out shooting it over the last 2 years because Detective Hancock did not preserve it over that time period. Ms. Morrissey probes further. Where'd it come from? Tell me your story. He says, well, Thel dropped it off. He then picked some up, and he went with Seth Kenney to the 1883 Yellowstone movie, where he was teaching people how to shoot with that live ammunition. He then went to another movie with Seth Kenney, teaching people how to shoot with that live ammunition. And Seth Kenney then took a green ammo can with that live ammunition in it and brought it home with him. He says that could be the live ammunition from that green ammo can that killed Halyna Hutchins. Ms. Morrissey says, I want you to preserve that. And do you think there's any evidence that this was sabotage? And he says, well, actually, Seth Kenney called me while Rust was shooting, telling me he wanted to get Hannah Gutierrez-Reed fired, but he didn't know how to do it because he was concerned about upsetting Thel Reed, significant armor in the business, as Your Honor knows. And so he says, I don't have evidence that there was sabotage, but that's what I know, and I still have this ammunition. As we know, Sarah Zachary, the one who threw the live bullets away, we don't know, live or not, threw bullets away after the incident on Rust, admitted that. Was on set, texting with Seth Kenney, angry with Hannah, on the license, the ATF report for the Pieta that was involved in this accident. She was on set. They were close. We know that. And so Ms. Morrissey says, you hold on to that evidence and I'll come get it, in essence. She never does. November 2023. Fast forward to March 6, 2024. The end of Hannah Gutierrez-Reed's trial. Teske's in Santa Fe. Sees what happens, shows up at the sheriff's office, as we heard from Ms. Popple, and delivers that live ammunition that Hancock had not preserved, that Ms. Morrissey had not collected, that he believed could be from the same batch, from that same green ammo can that we care about, that matched the bullet that killed Halyna Hutchins. We heard, Your Honor, what Ms. Popple did with it. They buried it. I'd like to say charitably that it was under the pile of the 5501 information that they didn't disclose, but that's even too charitable because they put it under a different case with a different number. We asked March 26th, we want all of the ammunition from the Rust set that you've collected. April 16th, we show up for that viewing. We want all the live ammunition from the Rust set that you collected. It's not there. After Teske had turned it in, after Ms. Popple had created the report, the supplemental report she said she created when she took this in and did not disclose to us, it was not there. Now, Your Honor, we don't know if it's a live ammunition match or not. But what we do know is the state had it. It's disclosable under Giglio. It's disclosable under 5501. And there's a case on point, Your Honor, State versus Allison, where a criminal defendant had been charged with conspiracy, aggravated assault, dishonest related crimes. And he had an arrest record in the prosecution's possession. He had a statement and an arrest record. It was not disclosed under 5501. The criminal defendant shows up at trial and testifies. He's a great guy, honest, no criminal record. The prosecution whips out his arrest record and his statement, disclosable under 5501, which it never disclosed, and said not true. Court breaks. Defendant says, you didn't disclose that under 5501. And the prosecution says, who cares? He's up on the stand lying. This would not have been favorable to him at all. And so, Judge, I want a continuance. Give them a continuance. That's their remedy. Come back tomorrow. I'll disclose everything. I'll make it all right. And then we'll continue. Trial court says, fine, I'll give you that continuance. Limited remedy. You'll have all the information. Do with it what you will. If it's negative, fine. If it's not, that's for you to use at trial. He's convicted. It gets appealed. It ends up in the Supreme Court of New Mexico. That decision was reversed. The continuance is not adequate in those circumstances. They're in the middle of trial. The defendant would have done things differently. The defendant would have opened differently, would have asked questions differently. Too much about where the source, in this case, of the live bullet came in before this was presented at trial. The court said it doesn't matter if the defendant knew or should have known of it. What we're talking about here is not the defendant's knowledge, not whether it matches, not matches, not whether his criminal arrest record would have hurt him or not. We're talking about the conduct of the prosecution. And that's exactly what we're talking about here, Your Honor. We're talking about a prosecution that didn't preserve those bullets, that didn't collect them at all, that didn't turn them over, that we already have a 5501 culpability finding with respect to the last set of information. And Your Honor, the bottom line is we've got 5501 violation, culpability. We don't need to show bad faith. We've got a Brady violation. We've got a Giglio violation. Now, this is critical evidence in the case.
Sorry, it makes me laugh every time he says Giglio violation, because I I feel like it should properly be pronounced Giglio violation, but maybe that's just what it's commonly referred to. Yeah, that one I'm less familiar with, but Brady violation I'm very familiar with, and that is that when the prosecution has evidence that is exculpatory, they are required to hand that over to the defense. And so what they are alleging here, and this is interesting because this came up yesterday during the cross-examination of the Miss Popple, of Marissa Popple. So the issue of like there being live rounds that were brought in by someone that weren't turned over to the defense, that could be potentially exculpatory. You know, the way in which that's potentially exculpatory is that it's you know, this idea that somebody sabotaged on set. That's what the defense is arguing. I don't know that you still eliminate Alec Baldwin's liability, though. His culpable, his culpability, his criminal liability, I should say. Because, you know, at the end of the day, there's still this question of whether he was reckless, whether he was negligent with his role. You can have multiple people doing multiple things wrong, to include someone bringing in live rounds to sabotage a set. So I don't know that necessarily is exculpatory, but I fully endorse the defense making this argument that you've got to make the argument. So anyway, also, let's see, there were a couple things. Draco Amy, thanks for flagging this. Just because gifted 5, I missed that, so thank you so much. So let's see here. Hit snooze. Stevens had enough. Matthew Baxter, Joseph Zalay, Hussar at 1683. You are now in Bite Club, so welcome back to Bite Club. Very happy to have you guys here. And also Farah gifted 5 also. I don't know why they're not showing up in StreamYard. So thank you so much for flagging that for me, Draco Amy. Awesome. One of our awesome mods here. Also, just because Legalbytes, is Teske on any witness list? No, I checked. No one has them on their witness list. So that is interesting. All right. Back to the argument.
That was never disclosed to us. We heard Ms. Morrissey say, I'm going to have Detective Hancock come in and testify. We could have Ms. Popple testify. They could say it doesn't match, et cetera, et cetera. It does not matter. It did not matter in Allison. We were entitled to it. A continuance is not a sufficient remedy. This case should be dismissed, Your Honor. This is over and over and over and over again. And Your Honor, you've given them a fair chance. You said, grand jury, as Mr. Spiro said, I'm going to give you a remedy on Trumbetta. I'm going to limit it. I'm going to give you your remedy. You've given them more than enough opportunities, Your Honor. This is not the first time. It's not the second time. It's not even the third time. It's time for this case to be dismissed, Your Honor. That's what Brady requires. That's what Giglio requires. That's what 501 requires. As Your Honor knows, we've got remedies in the alternative, but this is the one that's right for this moment. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Probably going to
Ms. Morrissey?
I need to use the monitor. Your Honor, there have been absolutely no violations of our obligations as prosecutors. I want to walk you through everything that has occurred in this regard, everything that these defense attorneys knew well before today, and everything that was also disclosed to Ms. Gutierrez's counsel. So what you can see from the transcript of Mr. Teske's interview during the Gutierrez case prior to her trial is that Mr. Teske is Thel Reed's close friend. And Mr. Teske stores Mr. Reed's ammunition. And the reason that he stores it for Mr. Reed is because Mr. Reed lives in a single-wide mobile home that doesn't have a lot of security. And because he's a professional armorer, he has a bunch of guns and ammunition. Mr. Teske is a retired police officer who has a whole bunch of security at his property. So Thel Reed has 300 rounds of live .45 caliber ammunition. And he and Seth Kinney are hired by the producers for the show 1883. Everything that I want you to know, Your Honor, everything that I'm telling the court, Mr. Bowles has this information, and these people have this information. So nothing I'm telling the court is new. So they get hired on this to do what's called a cowboy training on the set of 1883. So the cowboy training is where gun experts, that being Thel Reed and Seth Kinney, take the actors to shoot real guns with real ammunition so that they have a better idea of the recoil and how the gun is actually supposed to look, and to help them with their acting techniques. In fact, the fact that production companies do this was actually something that Mr. Baldwin pointed out to Detective Hancock during his interview. He himself has done this with a production company. So when they're through with the cowboy training camp in Texas, they've got some rounds left over. And Seth Kinney says, I'm going to take these. And Thel Reed lets him take them. So, and let me back up. When they originally went to the cowboy training camp in Texas, they didn't take all of Thel's ammunition. They took a certain amount of it, and Thel left some in Troy Teske's garage. All of this ammunition came from the same place. This was all from basically the same batch of ammunition that Thel Reed had, that he got from an ammunition manufacturer in Kingman, Arizona, named Joe Swanson. So they take 300 of his rounds. They go do the cowboy training camp. Seth Kinney then takes the leftover rounds back to PDQ. So then what happens is Mr. Bowles begins to tell Detective Hancock, hey, you need to go execute a search warrant at PDQ because there's this green ammo can that Seth Kinney took after the 1883 training camp. Hancock, to her credit, takes Mr. Bowles at his word. She gets a search warrant. She goes to PDQ. What Mr. Bowles said would be there was there, and you've seen pictures of it. There's a green ammo can, says 1883 live ammunition. They take it. They send it to the FBI for testing. Not only does it not look like the live rounds from Rust, but it has a different chemical composition. So at that point in time, Hancock has kind of realized, I think, that she's being led down this path by Mr. Bowles that's coming from Thel Reed. Thel Reed is trying to slough everything off on Seth Kinney. So I want to show you when Seth Kinney is with Detective Hancock, what Mr. Nickus was referring to, he reaches out to Teske because he's there with Hancock and he says, hey, send me a photo of the live rounds that you have left over because I'm giving her the live rounds from my green can. I think he just gave her some of them. They hadn't executed the search warrant at that point in time. Teske says, okay. And he sends to Seth Kinney, you can see November 1st, he sends him that photograph of the live rounds that are in his possession. When you look at that photograph, and I'll blow it up for you, you can tell these are not similar to the live rounds that were found on the set of Rust. Detective Hancock gets this information from Mr. Kinney. Ultimately, though, still goes ahead and executes her search warrant as she should. I come into this case. I look at the ammunition that was taken from PDQ. I understand from the witnesses that the ammunition was sourced originally from Thel Reed. It was sourced from Hannah's dad. It's not a match. Not only is it not a match when you look at it, it's not a match when you send it to the FBI and you ask them to conduct chemical testing. So this is a wild goose chase. This has no evidentiary value whatsoever. This is simply a man trying to protect his daughter, and he's doing it by providing information that doesn't even match. He's trying to provide evidence that doesn't even match the evidence that was found at the scene. So then let's cut to November of 2023. We do a pretrial interview of Mr. Teske. Let me back up. Detective Hancock reached out when she got this photograph. She reached out to Mr. Teske, and she'll testify to this. If you want her to testify under oath, I'm happy to have her do it. She reached out to Mr. Teske and she said, hey, you know, because you appear to be cooperative, can you just package that stuff up and mail it to me? Because he's in Arizona. He's not here in New Mexico. And he never does. He never sends it to her. She doesn't pursue it because on its face, it's not the same ammunition. Let's cut to November 2023. We're doing the pretrial interview of Troy Teske, where he talks about the ammunition and he talks about what he knows, what information he has about the relevance of this ammunition. What's also very important, and I can have under oath testimony to this fact also, this pretrial interview that was done over Zoom was, well, Mr. Bowles was there. So this was never kept from Gutierrez's lawyers. It was her lawyers that were bringing it to us. So there was no issue there. The jury was completely misled yesterday. So this pretrial interview that takes place in November of 2023 is uploaded to our Discovery server. And when it's uploaded to the server, Mr. Baldwin hasn't been indicted yet. When he is ultimately indicted, everything that is on that server is taken and it's put on a hard drive, and it's sent, I believe, to Ms. Clark, who isn't here right now. And certainly Mr. James is happy to testify that it was uploaded to the server, that he downloaded it onto that hard drive, and he provided it to Mr. Baldwin's counsel. So the jury was misled again yesterday when Mr. Spiro indicated we had no idea about any of this. They've had it the entire time.
I don't want to hear about how the jury was misled. I just want to.
So when I have the pretrial interview with Troy Teske, if the court wants to know the reason that we didn't actually get the ammunition from him, is because I said, since he's out of state and we'd have to get another law enforcement agency basically to go pick it up and take it and send it to us, I said, have him send me a picture of it so that I can determine whether it has any evidentiary value and I can speak to my case agent about it. The photograph that was sent to me is the photograph in the middle. That is not the same ammunition. You can tell from looking at it. It has a different projectile shape. That's not the same projectile shape. That's not the same casing. This isn't a Starline brass casing. And it also has brass primers and not silver primers. So I decided, I agreed with Detective Hancock, this has no evidentiary value. We're not going to continue to go down this rabbit hole. I want the court to know that the photographs that I spoke to Detective Hancock about yesterday, where it does appear that Ms. Gutierrez has the live ammunition in her own hand that was taken a little more than a month after Ms. Hutchins died, those are on the right. So you can see the bottom photo, you can see the Starline brass casing, you can see the nickel primer, and then when you look up here, you can see the shape of the projectile. It's a spot-on match for the live rounds. There is absolutely nothing about the ammunition that Troy Teske had that has any evidentiary value in the Gutierrez case. It has no evidentiary value in the Baldwin case. This feels like asking us to go to every sporting goods store, collect all of their .45 caliber ammunition, and send it off for testing. We're not required to do that. It simply doesn't have any evidentiary value, and the defense was aware of it. If the court, let me check my notes real quick. And another thing that's really important about the transcript of Mr. Teske's pretrial interview is he does not say, this is the same ammunition that killed Halyna Hutchins. He says, that's what Seth Kenney told me. Well, we've interviewed Seth Kenney countless times, and he's testified before Your Honor, and that is not what he says. He does not support that. So Mr. Teske indicated during his pretrial interview that he had no personal knowledge of whether or not this ammunition had anything to do with what was happening on the set of Rust. That all came from Seth. We investigated Seth. We talked to Seth.
I mean, yeah, if he didn't have personal knowledge of it, then how can you rely on anything that he's saying, or the fact that he's bringing this in and saying this is from Seth Kenney?
The only way that this has, on the best of days, for this to be relevant information for even Ms. Gutierrez, it's not at all relevant to Mr. Baldwin, but even for Ms. Gutierrez, it has to actually have some exculpatory value.
Yeah.
And you can tell from the pictures on the right, it doesn't. It doesn't have any exculpatory value. And I want the court to keep in mind, Hannah Gutierrez, when she was working on the set of The Old Way in August, before she came to New Mexico to work on the set of Rust, she sent Seth Kinney a text message. And in that text message, she said, "Is it okay with you if I shoot live rounds out of the set guns?" And Seth Kinney responded and said, "No, don't do that." In fact, what he says is, "It always ends in tears." It did this time. Hannah Gutierrez admits to law enforcement that she loaded the gun. She points out the box of dummy rounds that she was sourcing ammunition from. During her November interview, she holds up a picture of the exact same box and says, "I got this from my dad. My dad wanted me to show you the boxes of dummy rounds that we use." And it was a spot-on match. She actually indicated that she got the box of dummy rounds from her own father. None of this is exculpatory at all. This is the exact same batch of ammunition that has already been sent to the FBI and tested, because it all came from the same place. There's no reason for us to do it again. Thank you.
Your Honor, I don't know.
Really quick, Raya Sun, thank you so much for gifting 1 Legalbytes membership. Very kind and generous of you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You've been gifted a membership by Raya Sun. So welcome or welcome back. I think this is a welcome back to Bike Club. Very happy to have you here. Hope you can join us for our members only live stream tomorrow at 9 a.m. East Coast time.
If the court is intending to take evidence or not, so.
She didn't call anybody.
Okay.
I can, if the court.
It is your presentation. I'm not going to tell you what to do
Yeah,
on your
sure,
presentation.
I'll do it then. We'll take evidence. If my offer of proof isn't enough, I'm happy to put witnesses up.
I just wanted to say one thing to the court, which is just simply that Ms. Morrissey, in her presentation, didn't say one word, not one word.
Isn't this properly for Mr.?
Well, I don't even say that. Well, he was making a legal argument. If we're going to do an evidentiary hearing, there won't be multiple lawyers involved. But so I would just simply point out that there wasn't one word about what was actually turned in. I don't know if the court realizes that. That was all about stuff that happened that.
All right, thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Nikas.
I'll be very brief, Your Honor.
Is anybody getting a, what is it? What's the video game? The agent, what's his name? Someone's gonna, Agent 47, is that it? Agent something. Someone in the chat will know and you'll let me know. Are you getting vibes from that assassin video game? Cause I am. Agent 47, Hitman, yes. Hitman, Agent 47. Every time he gets up, I'm like, that's Agent 47.
If this evidence wasn't as important as we say it is, they would have turned it over. The fact that they concealed it, the fact that they put it under a separate document number, didn't disclose the supplemental report, didn't disclose the bullets, didn't bring them to the April 6th evidentiary viewing. If it was that irrelevant, it had no evidentiary value, it would have been there, Your Honor, number one. Number two, Ms. Morrissey does not get to determine what has evidentiary value and what doesn't. 5501 says it's required to be disclosed, period, full stop. And in fact, in the Allison case, it was not exculpatory. It was inculpatory. It was the defendant's own arrest record and his own lies to the state. And yet the fact that it was required to be disclosed under 5501 and the fact that it was not meant, period, full stop. We're not going to have a mini trial about this in the middle of the trial. That's exactly what the Supreme Court reversed the lower court for doing, what Ms. Morrissey is asking you to do. It didn't matter. It was inculpatory, but the trial would have been conducted differently. And because it would have been conducted differently, and that's exactly the truth here, this goes to credibility. It goes to the government's bias, improper motivation, and incompetence. I'm taking those exact words from the motion in limine ruling that Your Honor made. That goes into evidence. It's relevant to Popple's credibility, to Hancock's credibility. It relates to every single thing we've planned in this entire case, Your Honor. And right in the middle of it, Ms. Morrissey doesn't tell you what was actually turned in. She shows you a picture from 2021, a subset of the rounds that were turned in by Teske, a subset. He said he shot a bunch of rounds in those 2 years. The picture was only of 4. This is critical evidence, Your Honor, and whether Seth Kenney is right or wrong, or how we debate whether he was involved or not involved, that's completely irrelevant, because what we know is we don't have those bullets, and they were required to be disclosed so we could put on the case that's fair. And that's exactly what Brady says, Your Honor. Brady says that the administration of justice requires fairness. That was the entire premise of the decision. Fairness. And that's all we've wanted from the beginning, Your Honor. And you've given them chance after chance after chance, and there are no more chances, Your Honor. Brady says it, Giglio says it, 5501 requires it.
Giglio.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before I, and we can take testimony later if you all want, but I'm going to require that the state, in fact, I'm going to order that the state by 11:30 this morning produce the supplemental report, the file itself and anything in it, and also the rounds.
May I
that-
respond
I'm
real
not
quick?
finished.
Okay.
Oh,
And the rounds that Ms. Popple took from Mr. Teske.
I want the court to understand that last night, the defense reached out to Ms. Popple and said, we want you to bring the rounds to court tomorrow. And she got their message, and then they reached out to her again and said, no, never mind. We don't want you to bring the rounds to
Thank you,
court
Ms.
tomorrow.
Morrissey.
I
Thank
have
you,
them.
Ms. Morrissey.
I have them.
I don't, okay, where are they?
They're here. I'll go get them.
All right.
okay.
Well, actually, I want testimony from Ms. Popple on how she retrieved those.
Uh-oh. Okay. Let's, we're going to fast forward a little bit.
The supplemental report to the defense.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Have a seat, talking to the microphone. I would like to read the report.
I was just,
Y'all, this is looking just as messy as the Rust film set itself. It's just the mess has just expanded beyond the set and then into this entire case.
May I see the report?
Yes.
So the big issue here is the judge has to make a determination about whether or not the prosecution had good reason to determine that there was no evidentiary value to these rounds. If they just made that determination on their own and it turns out they're wrong, then that's a Brady violation. Potentially a Brady violation. I still think that you can, that I don't know that really has much of a bearing at all on how, on Alec Baldwin's culpability, but it could be enough. Jerry Roth, thanks so much for the super chat. Can Morrissey get disbarred for knowingly violating? She probably wouldn't get disbarred. Maybe sanctioned. Maybe. That's Brady violations are very serious, but I would expect a sanction before getting completely disbarred. Okay, let's maybe fast forward a bit.
Martine, I need the box of evidence.
Judge definitely seems impatient today. She does not have much patience for theatrics right now. Okay.
Well, how do we want to do it? I want to look at it.
I do too.
Well, do you want me to ask the questions first? I have some questions of this witness.
You can ask questions, but as long as I can-
I want to hear judges' questions.
Can I open this, Martine? Anywhere? Like, not in the middle, I mean, up at the top? Oh. Anywhere's fine? Maybe you need gloves too. Do you have gloves? Can you get some additional? So anywhere, I can just cut into it. Okay.
There should be there's a separate
All right.
area.
I'm going to have you. This is unusual, but if you all don't mind, and if there's any objection, I'm going to have her step down, and when I ask her a question about which is which, she will put it out. Is that all right with everybody?
However you want to do it. Judge.
Okay, so I just need you to have some gloves. And we're going to go right there. And you all can approach too, so you don't have to, I don't want you asking questions yet, but I do. Can you move that thing?
Yeah, this is pretty wild. I've never seen anything quite like this before.
All right, please pull out the 3 Starline brass 45 Colt. Just put the color. You need to report it. You have your report.
I have my report. Pair of scissors. I got it.
Let's do the 2 DHA 45 Colt with silver and color carbon. Take your time.
Yeah, this is PBH. There's no jury in the room. The jury they're not even gathering at the courthouse for another 45 minutes. Okay. No, we're at the courthouse. But they're not coming in just yet. Sorry, yeah, they got their 15 minutes ago.
2 BHA 45 Colt with silver and color primer.
Yes, Judge.
So what the judge is doing is he's examining these live rounds that were brought in by Troy Teske to the investigator, and she wants to examine them. Probably she wants to get a closer look so that we can see whether hearing warning
1 CBC 45 Colt with brass and color primer.
That would be this one.
see whether Terry Morrissey's description of these rounds is accurate. Terry Morrissey said
3 BHA 45 Colt with brass and color primer.
that they don't, by their appearance, they don't match the live rounds that were found on.
These things.
She wants to get a closer look at these live rounds. I'm going to put this at 1.25x speed.
And 1 Winchester 45 Colt. I don't need the Winchester.
That one.
2 Winchester 45 Colt.
It's silver primer with brass primer, silver casings.
Okay, got that. Okay, 1 SIG 45 Colt. All right, and then 10 Starline brass 45 Colt. All right, so Do we have the microphone close by? Can you pick this up? Are you picking it up? My question.
Get that one here.
All right, so point out to me, let me ask you this. Did Ziegler Ziegler tested the rounds in the Hannah Gutierrez case, correct?
Yes.
He didn't test any further rounds after the Hannah Gutierrez case?
No.
Okay. In the Hannah Gutierrez case, can you point out what types he did test from here?
I'm uncertain what types he tested.
This is a witness testifying, Ms. Morrissey. Please stop.
We sent all of the.
All right.
Okay, before this morning, we've been seeing a lot of Carrie Morrissey like just steamrolling the judge in a lot of ways, and that was quite a response from the judge here. I'm actually kind of satisfied seeing that, because I was starting to get concerned that she was just going to let Morrissey just control the courtroom this entire time, which is inappropriate, right? You've still going to have some respect for the judge.
Let me ask it a different way. Do you recognize any of these types of bullets to have been gathered on the Hannah Gutierrez, on the Rust set?
The Starline brass with silver primer are similar to what was collected on set.
And everything that was collected on set went to Ziegler?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I don't have any further questions, but I'll certainly allow some. I don't know if you want to be there with her or what.
If she could take the witness check.
Good morning again. I'm just going to pass the witness up, because we're not fully set up, the copy of the spent shell casing that's recovered on the scene of Rust. And you would agree with me, right, that it's the same as the bottom of the bullets that you just provided to the court?
This is Starline brass 45 Colt with a silver primer.
So when I asked you yesterday, didn't he turn in ammunition that matched the ammunition that killed Ms. Hutchins? It's true that he did, correct?
And I did not recall at that time.
I understand that that's your position, but that's what in fact happened. Would you agree?
I would not use the word match without there being an additional analysis.
Well, who got to decide whether there would be additional analysis?
That was not myself.
It wasn't the defense, though, right? We didn't know about it.
I don't know what you were aware of.
Okay. Well, you know that we came to have an evidence viewing where we asked
Yeah, I'll put it back on normal speed.
to see every single round that could be related to the Rust set, and this was hidden from us. You do know that.
This was not hidden.
This was not hidden?
This was under a case number. It was documented. I was instructed to document it under this case number.
Okay, so in this case that's under the Rust investigation case number, you would agree with me there's hundreds of things that you inventoried, right?
Yes.
There are hundreds of police reports that all relate to the same case number, right?
Yes.
The one thing that seems to have been put under a different case number is just this one discovery of the actual ammunition that matches the ammunition from the set of Rust.
Yikes.
This was put under a doc information of someone coming in claiming to have rounds that were not utilized in a case.
Okay, well, let's examine that for a second. When Seth Kenny comes into the precinct and he gives you ammunition, you vouchered it, right?
I was instructed to collect the ammunition from Seth Kenny.
Well, let me take a step back for a second just to make something clear. Investigator Popple, you're following orders, right, when you're doing these things, correct?
Can you please stop referring to me as investigator because it's creating a misnomer?
Okay, well, how would you? I apologize.
I'm a
not doing
crime
that.
scene technician. I'm not an investigator.
Okay, I'm only doing that because it's shorter.
She is definitely very, very frustrated right now. She does not like this whole situation at all. She's definitely feeling very under the gun. Yeah. Okay. There's no jury. There's no jury right now. So, it's not necessarily like a bad look in front of them, but obviously this is a high profile trial. A lot of people are seeing this. If I were working with her, I would tell her, like, relax, take a breath. She is getting quite flustered.
and crime scene technician.
CST works.
Perfect. Okay. CST Popple. When you took the, you're effectively following orders when you're deciding whether to voucher this or voucher the Seth Kennedy evidence, right?
You keep using the word voucher, and I'm not sure what context you're using it.
Yeah, I apologize for that word choice. When you inventory and make a report, I think your testimony is you're doing it at the direction of supervisors. Is that fair?
Most of the time, yes.
Okay. So when Seth Kennedy walks into the precinct and gives you ammunition and says it's from the Rust case, you all inventoried it, right?
Yes.
You took photos of it, right?
Yes.
You put it under the Rust case number, right?
Yes.
You turned it over to the defense, right?
According to my knowledge, yes.
Okay. Somebody else comes in to the precinct, okay? A man named Troy Teske, right?
Yes.
Who was a former police officer, right?
I believe he stated that, yes.
Okay. And I assume you all have the diligence to be able to confirm that, right?
I do not know if it was confirmed or not.
Okay. And he comes in and he also tells you he has evidence, right?
He told us 3 years later, after a trial, that he had evidence that the defense wanted him to use that he no longer wanted to hold on to.
Okay, let's break that down for a second, right? Mr. Teske isn't involved in your meetings with the prosecutors and Corporal Hancock's meetings with the prosecutors up until the trial, was it?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so doesn't it make sense that he would have seen the trial on television, been completely outraged at what he was watching, not trusted law enforcement, and then walked it into the precinct? Doesn't that make sense?
I do not know what would make sense to Mr. Teske.
Okay, didn't he in fact tell you, I don't trust Miss Morrissey and the prosecutors?
He did not state that to me.
He didn't on your oath? You sure about that?
I do not recall him stating that.
So he turns this round in, and you, when he turns it in, obviously recognize it as Starline brass, nickel primer, Colt 45, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not as if he came in and just turned in a bunch of shells, right?
He did turn in a whole bunch of shells.
Okay. But he didn't just turn in shells, right?
He turned in multiple different 45 rounds.
I'll ask the question a third time. He didn't just turn in shells, did he?
He turned in multiple 45 rounds.
Including rounds that matched the round that struck Miss Hutchins, right?
Again, I wouldn't use the word match without further analysis.
And the reason that we don't have further analysis is you all didn't send this to the FBI for further analysis, did you?
We did not.
Right? Because if you had, it would have potentially proven the fact that all along this ammunition did come from Seth Kennedy. Isn't that true?
What I was informed of by Mr. Teske was that the ammunition originated from Joe Swanson.
And then went in the green ammo can to Seth Kennedy.
I do not recall him speaking about a green ammo can.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. You know, the other thing that you're saying, I took you at first to be saying, well, it's just a bunch of ammunition, and now we've gotten to the point where it's actually the same type of ammunition. And then you've also stated in your testimony that it's like, well, there's this guy, Troy Teske, that just walks into the office like it's random. When really Mr. Teske and his involvement in this case was very well known to law enforcement, correct?
I had never heard his name before.
Okay, but he came in and he said, I'm here to give evidence about the Rust case, right?
He stated that he had evidence the defense had wanted and he no longer wanted to hang on to it.
Well,
And he was the one using the word evidence.
okay. You said to him when you met him down at the first floor of the precinct, you were called because you were the person in charge of the evidence, the CST, right?
Yes.
Okay. And he said, thank goodness it's you. You're the perfect person to take this because you know all about the Rust case. And you said, I know all about the Rust case, right?
I don't recall that.
Do you deny that?
No.
Okay. And then he said to you, this ammunition was in Seth Kenney's possession. And you said Seth Kenney's law enforcement is well aware of Mr. Kennedy, right?
I don't recall that.
So you take this ammunition on March 6th, right?
Yes,
The standard operating procedure for the Santa Fe Police Department says you're supposed to make your report within 24 hours, right?
correct.
Okay. So tell the court, did you make your report within 24 hours?
I'm fairly certain that our SOP is that evidence should be submitted within 24 hours. I'm not certain on when the reports are supposed to be submitted.
So do you want to take your answer back? that you
Yes,
gave
I
a minute
do.
ago?
I apologize, yes.
Well, we can enter that SOP into evidence. In this case, many times, there are police reports that are done the same day that the incident occurs. Can you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. How much longer after this revelation did you do your report?
I believe it was, I apologize. I can refer to my report to refresh my memory. Oh, I have a copy. I believe it was the following month that the report was made.
Yeah, it was approximately a month later, right?
Yes.
Okay. What happened during that month? CST Papa.
To be fairly honest, I went out of town to visit my dying mother.
No.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry to hear that. Were you out of town that entire month?
I don't believe it was the entire month, no.
Okay. Who was involved in the word choice in this report?
Myself?
I think we may have gotten just a little bit of insight here as to why she is responding emotionally the way that she's responding right now. There also may have been some personal emotion that's kind of tied to this case for her with that time period. If that's, I don't know. I'm speculating. I'm definitely like, take that with a huge heap of salt, more than a grain of salt, but like, and absolutely fair, Brittany Chanel. How is he supposed to know that? I completely agree. I don't think he knew that based on his reaction. I don't think he knew that, and I think that was a good response by him. Yeah, that might explain a little bit why she's getting a little bit more flustered than what we are kind of expecting. I don't know. Maybe not. It's interesting though.
You didn't have any input? Because this doesn't look like the same language you use in the other reports.
Well, on a normal basis, I don't have conversations with people involved in cases.
That's also probably true because she's a crime scene tech. She's not an investigator. She's not a detective. But also Jade Trudeau, I completely get this too. Sorry, I couldn't deal with the potential evidence in a proper way because my mother was dying. Yeah, Brady violation analysis does not care about any of that kind of personal information. Someone's constitutional rights don't get limited because of a law enforcement personnel's personal problems, personal life issues, as tragic as they may be, as emotional as horrible as they may be. So there is that too. So I wanted to point that out because I'm not discounting that either.
But there was also other officers there that were aware of this. Corporal Hancock was aware of this, correct?
She was notified about it, yes.
Okay, and so was your supervisor who was there with you, correct?
Yes.
So you're not telling me and this court that you had no input at all in the drafting of this document, are you?
It was reviewed by my supervisor. I don't believe any corrections were made to it or requested by him.
It's just, there's a funny sentence in it. It says, it's a sentence I've never seen in a police report. You tell me if you've ever seen this in a police report in your entire career. It says, it should be noted that this is not actual evidence from the death investigation collected by SFSO detectives.
You are not reading my section of the report. You are reading what was written by Lieutenant Brian Brandel.
I was going to say, it doesn't look like you're writing. So the lieutenant writes in, thank you for clarifying that. I just got this report, as you know, right? The lieutenant writes in, it should be noted that this is not actual evidence from the death investigation collected by SFSO detectives. Did I read that right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. In your career, going back to when you were at CST in Florida, all the way through the present. Have you ever seen such a sentence in a police report in your entire career?
Not that exact sentence, no.
Yeah, me neither.
Damn.
So you're, if you could just look at this report for a second and help clarify for me which parts of this you filled out versus the lieutenant.
The section that starts at the top with my name.
Well, let's just go page by page.
That would be
Sorry.
page 5.
You guys, all this drama has Baby Bites like kicking up a storm right now. I'm like getting like kneed in the ribs.
After this occurred, did this cause you concern, CSD Popple, that this was handled this way?
It did not.
And as I asked you yesterday, you actually said when you were meeting with Mr. Teske, this is the ammunition that we've been looking for from the Rust set, didn't you?
I don't recall stating that.
But you're not denying that.
I'm not denying it.
So I don't know whether the most critical evidence in this case is the gun that was sent off to be destroyed or the round that killed Ms. Hutchins. It probably is the round that killed Ms. Hutchins. Would you agree with that those are probably the two most important pieces of evidence in this entire case?
I'm sorry. Can you please restate your
Sure.
long question?
Sure. Would you agree with me that the two most critical items in this case from an evidentiary perspective were probably the firearm in question and the live ammunition that struck Ms. Hutchins, right?
I would say the firearm and the live ammunition from the set.
Okay. And so the firearm, which we've had hearings, discussions about, was ultimately broken beyond repair by law enforcement, right?
Was broken by the FBI lab.
Okay. And the report that was issued by the experts for the prosecution about that firearm and whether or not it had been modified before was buried also by the prosecutors, correct?
I do not know about that report.
Okay. And then we can turn to this second most critical piece of evidence in this case. And this was also buried by law enforcement, correct?
No.
No, it wasn't. Okay. Were you in the precinct when the evidence viewing occurred with the defense? I think you said yesterday that your partner or your colleague dealt with the evidence viewing.
Yes, my colleague and Detective Hancock, I believe, were there.
But you didn't, nobody asked you to take this vouchered, sealed evidence out and show it to the defense, correct?
When the request was made, I believe they couldn't quite narrow down everything that they wanted to view. There was quite a bit.
Oh, so this was a narrowing down issue? The reason that this wasn't shown to the defense is a narrowing down issue?
No, I'm stating that they couldn't quite tell me in detail what they wanted to see.
The request from the defense of all ammunition was taken by law enforcement to not mean the ammunition that you recovered that matched the ammunition that struck Ms. Hutchins?
I don't believe they looked at all the ammunition that day.
Well, no, but the request was all ammunition. So I'm asking you, did law enforcement interpret that request to not include this critical evidence?
All of the items that were pulled for the case were under the Rust case number.
Which
Well,
was
that's the
a
problem.
perfect plan.
And that's the problem from the defense's perspective here, right? Because they said that, well, okay, now these pieces of live ammunition, of live rounds, they were filed under a different case name and case number. They were not organized. They were not inventoried under the Rust case. Why wasn't it? Why wasn't it? Because here's the other thing is that, like, I understand there's a huge chain of custody issue with Troy Teske bringing these in. He apparently holds on to ammunition for Thel Reed. And I guess, this is supposed to be somehow connected to Seth Kenny, but like, you can also do direct and cross-examination on that kind of stuff too. Like, what, I don't know. It's just, it seems like this probably should have been given over to the defense, especially when they requested all firearms or all ammunition that was taken in this case.
You're asking me if there was a plan?
Well, I'm saying whether there was or there wasn't, it worked out pretty well, right?
I'm not sure what you're getting at. There was a request to view the evidence from Rust. That is the evidence that was pulled.
Well, your report says this is evidence from Rust, and then it just puts it under a different case number, and the lieutenant then writes that sentence in saying this isn't evidence from Rust, right?
My report states that Mr. Teske believed that it was related to Rust, and then I listed the case number next to that.
Do you remember when we started my examination of you yesterday? How I sort of said to you, the way you know what evidence to find is by what people tell you. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh,
And that when you're at a burglary and somebody says, oh, you better pick up that glove, you don't know that person's telling the truth or not, but you pick up the glove, right?
yeah.
Depending on the circumstances of the case, possibly.
And here, a retired member of law enforcement walks into the precinct who's known to law enforcement, who turns in the matching ammunition, who tells you it's involved in the case, where there's tons of corroboration, both by what he provides and the history that law enforcement knows about this man. And you put it under a different case number, right?
I'm sorry, what was your question in that long statement?
You put it under a different case number.
Yes, as I was instructed to do so.
Okay, so you need to finish up so that Ms. Morrissey can cross-examine.
Yeah, I'm trying to review this in real time. So I will pass the witness. In a moment. 1 second, Rose. Oh, and I asked you this yesterday, but I want to ask again, which is, you told Mr. Teske that you would write up a report because of how important this was the very same day, didn't you?
I don't recall stating the very same day.
You don't deny that, though, do you?
I don't deny it, but I don't recall it.
Okay, nothing further.
He probably could have gotten more
For the
and
record,
better
that was
testing.
State's Exhibit 29 that showed the witness.
All right, are we going to admit the supplemental into evidence?
Please.
Well, somebody move it in. I started the conversation. but
Defend, is it court exhibit or just Marcus defense? It's just,
I think it's, well, since I started it, are you okay with court's exhibit?
that's fine with me. And I think it gets confused.
However you want to handle it.
All right, court's exhibit what?
Come back.
All right, thank you. And it is, any objection?
No, certainly not.
Go ahead.
All right, before she does her cross-examination here, let me get some super bites super chats and questions. Just because the chain of custody to get to the CST is so meandering, why should she trust Troy Teske if she had not met him before? I definitely agree. I think that there are a lot of questions about it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you just completely disregard that evidence. You can have plenty of evidence that's like weak and whatnot that still should be included, and you hand it over to the other side because maybe they have other information that that gives other context. A Lamau, is the defense's argument that you can't pick and choose what to pin to AB, you can't demolish the smoking gun and then ignore the ammo. I mean, essentially, that's, well, that, and what they're saying is, if there is evidence here and we request it, you can't just pretend it's not evidence and not hand it over to us. This is, to me, this does sound more and more like a Brady violation. You know, granted, maybe there are other people who are very, very experienced in criminal law who have better insight into this issue. But to me, from what I'm hearing here, this is sounding and feeling a bit more like it. Brambino, Legalbytes question. I just want to ask, how are you feeling today? And want to thank you for all your hard work in the community you've put in place for us. I speak for everyone when I say thank you. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I'm doing well. A little tired because between the streams and the recaps, it is a lot of work. But you know, it's Friday, so recoveries over the weekend and whatnot. We're good. We're good. We're good. So, and by the way, the day 2 recap is, it needs to be reviewed. Hopefully there's nothing, no issues with it. If there are no issues with it, hopefully that can come out during the lunch break or during one of these, recesses or something, but I still have to check it, but hopefully we can get that out as soon as possible. Lara K, Legalbytes, what would happen if what Baldwin's lawyer is saying is true? If what Baldwin's lawyer is saying is true, there could very well be a determination that the prosecution has committed a Brady violation, which would require dismissal of this case. So that would be absolutely wild. And Jerry Roth, thanks for the super chat. Stephen Baldwin rocking the knitting grandma look. He kind of is, isn't he? And then here's a similar question right here. Do you know what Stephen Baldwin is wearing in the background? I think he's got some kind of like, it looks like he's listening to something, but I don't even recognize like what that is. I couldn't quite tell you. Arda Rissanen, question: if the judge finds violations here, would that affect the HGR conviction too? If this truly started before her trial, then yeah, it could. Emily Atelier, Legalbytes, why didn't the defense bring this issue up pretrial? Seems like they were aware of this before yesterday. From what he was saying, he was like, I'm analyzing while I'm up here. It sounds like they didn't actually know about it until during the trial, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any insight on that, to be honest with you. Just because. Thanks for the super chat. I mean, not that she should disregard the evidence, but she can't be expected to treat a random retired Leo from an outside jurisdiction as a boss. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true as well. But this issue here is not so much about how well she regards Troy Teske. This issue is someone comes in, bringing in information, bringing in what seems to be evidence in this particular case. And, you know, we have to determine what to do with that. It could be, it could be exonerative for the defendant, in which case you've got to turn that over. But here it feels a lot like they definitely tried to hide it. That's what it feels like it. The fact that they put it under a different case name or case number, the fact that the report by the lieutenant says this isn't evidence. And when the Baldwin team requested all of the live rounds, all of the ammunition, and they said, yeah, we're giving you all of the ammunition, and that, you know, this is all of the ammunition in the Rust case, but there is other ammunition, but it's not under the Rust case. It's been filed away under some other case. Like, how would the defense know about that? How would the defense possibly know that there's, you know what I mean? Like that's it feels very shady. Oh, Jerry Roth. Okay, so I think hearing aids plugged into the court. Okay, so maybe it's a court feed. Okay. All right. Interesting. Thank you. Debbie Faison Cook, Legalbytes, TBH. I don't know why this matters. Is no one is accusing AB of loading the gun? Is this still laying foundation for the jury? And why does the defense want it in so badly? Well, the defense wants it in very badly because they definitely are. One of the things that they're trying to show is that, like, you know, there's culpability by a bunch of other people, and but for these other people doing these bad things, nothing would have happened. So, you know, that definitely is helpful to. It's helpful to the defense, especially because they're making this delineation between people who work on safety on set and people who work on art. Alec Baldwin is one of those guys that works on art. So, you know, that is still helpful to their case. If they say, look, you've got these safety people, you've got this Seth Kenny character, and he's one of the safety people, and it looks like he's bringing in the live rounds on set specifically to sabotage the set. Crazy. I don't know. Anyway, Joanne, Legalbytes. How will this affect HGR now? It could impact her conviction as well. We could end up seeing some kind of this conviction getting overturned. You look beautiful, Mama. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, let's continue with.
If I can just pause for a moment and just address the court. Here's what I'm intending to do. Obviously, this is a serious dispositive matter. A full record needs to be laid. I have Mr. Kenny on his way over. He'll be here any minute. We intend to take testimony from him. I also intend to take testimony from Mr. Bowles.
Here's what we're gonna
Judge, I have to make a record, though.
Well, just a minute.
Okay.
Even just the way that she talked.
The issue is the disclosure,
I
okay?
understand.
All right, so
That's why I want to call these people, is it goes to the heart of the disclosure. So all I'm asking the court for.
well, we don't have time for this. So what I'm going to do, for example, like with Hancock, I'm going to have her get up on the stand and continue testifying about the case. And then this portion, just like you did with Popple yesterday, we will ask. You can call, move Seth Kenny up. You can move Seth Kenny up, but he's going to do all of his testimony if you're going to do that.
So here's the only thing I'm trying to do, and I don't mean to be frustrating. The only thing I'm trying to do is make sure that if this court grants this motion to dismiss, that I have made a full record, and I am entitled to do that. So I am getting my witnesses over here so that I can make a full record on this issue.
Well, what's interesting to me, to be quite honest, is that yesterday you didn't even want to do a written reply. You wanted to just give an oral response.
I never saw these. I've never seen these, and I never saw the report.
Brittany Chanel, this is not in front of a jury. Jury's not here.
I have absolutely never seen these until this morning.
All right.
I've never seen the report until
So
this
ask
morning.
questions of this witness, and then you can line up your witnesses, and I'll see. But we're going to go with Hancock after this.
I like that she's taking control over
Ms.
court.
Popple, I just presented to the court that I've never seen these until this morning. Do you agree with that?
Yes,
You've never shown me these, or I've never come in to see them. Is that right?
correct.
Have you ever provided me that doc report?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I want to know why not. Why hasn't Miss Morrissey seen this?
So, do you know who Troy Teske is?
No, I do not.
I think we took some testimony from you yesterday that he is the friend of Thelreed.
I believe that was stated, but I did not know that information.
Okay, so let me ask it this way. If Troy Teske, who provided this ammunition, is a friend of Hannah Gutierrez's dad. And if these bullets,
I'd ask the prosecutor not to be touching those with her bare hands.
they rolled around for 3 years. Okay. If these bullets,
That's not it. That's not that's not a good reason. Treat the evidence like evidence, please.
match the ones that were on the set of Rust, is that evidence, additional evidence that Hannah Gutierrez provided the live ammunition to the set of Rust?
Yes.
And has she been convicted for that?
Yes.
Is this evidence that Seth Kinney provided live ammunition to the set of Rust?
No.
Just the look on Spyro's face.
So let me ask you, Ms. Popple, if you buried it, how did the defense attorneys know to cross-examine you on it yesterday?
I do not know.
Do you have any idea when the defense attorneys learned about this ammunition?
No, I do not.
Do you know?
My guess is they probably heard something from Troy Teske himself. Troy Teske may have mentioned something about it and been like, "Hey, did anybody give you the ammunition that I provided or something?" That's my. And yes, there are enough. There are folks in the chat that have been screaming about this. It's been referenced enough. We need it.
Don't be suspicious. 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 Don't be suspicious.
John Ralphio?
Yeah. Alrighty. Also, while we're there, Andy the Game Maker, thanks so much for super chatting once again, big brother. I've never seen this before. Would make a great meme clip. I want to know what kind of. I would like to be a fly in the wall the next time Morrissey has a conversation with CSU Popple and with any of the detectives involved in this case, the lieutenant who's on that report, and basically anyone, because she's like, I have never seen any of this. I've never heard of any of this. What is happening? Like, what is happening? I can only imagine that she's about to rip some arteries out of people's necks.
Who they learned it from?
No.
Those are some important inquiries. Those are all the questions I have for Ms. Popple, but we'd like to take additional testimony.
All right. I thought I had one more question.
Oh, and I'm sorry. Would it refresh your memory about whether or not you're supposed to write a report within 24 hours if you?
I don't think that was in dispute. I think he.
All right.
All right. Right? Never mind. Okay. So you're off the witness stand. Do we want to leave these out or do we want to gather them up?
I think they need to be vouchered and kept. Obviously.
Why? Okay. Well, so it'll be Court's Exhibit 12. Is that how you want to do it?
Yes, I think it should be a court exhibit since this is a hearing, yes.
Okay, Court's 12. And my only question is, do you want them back in the, do you plan to examine anybody with these?
They have to be at the courthouse so we can, yes.
Well, she divided them all up is my only point. So is she going to keep coming back and dividing them up, or what are we going to do?
I think yesterday there was some testimony that I think was frankly just misleading, that none of the.
No, this is my question.
Yes.
You all, okay. What do you want to do with that? Because if you're asking a witness, then we're going to have to pile them out of there, and somebody's going to have to line them up and identify what's this, okay? So do you want them staying out like this, or do you want them in the bag? That's all. That's my question for the day.
I think they should remain vouchered, and they are open like any voucher would be at a trial, when and if a witness is questioned about them.
Okay, so here's my question. If I put them back in the bag, they're all going to be commingled, and you may not recognize them, so you can cross-examine appropriately or examine appropriately, okay? You're lay people. You have knowledge I don't need to go into it. That's my only question. Want it in the bag or do you want it out?
So what I would ask is let us quickly just photograph it, and then we'll ask CST Popple to put it back and capture them, but remain at the courthouse. That's what I would ask.
All right. Is that okay?
Absolutely. My question for the court is, are we going to complete this motion hearing?
No, we're not going to complete it yet. Okay, I'm going to.
And can you just give us an idea so that we can be prepared for how you intend to proceed with regard to the motion hearing?
I'm going to have Hancock come up. You're going to call Seth Kenny, and I don't know why we can't do Seth Kenny's testimony if he's coming. Did you call him as a witness?
Sure, he's being called as a witness.
Okay, well, you should be prepared to call him. So we're going to do both, and I'm going to hear both.
So we're going to hear from these witnesses outside the presence of the jury and then in front of the jury?
Oh, you're right about that. Thank you.
That's my issue.
Thank you for pointing that out. Well, other than telling the jury to leave for the and come back at 3, which I'm not going to do to them, I'm going to continue the testimony, and he would. Well, you said actually. I'm thinking why can't the jury hear this? They heard Popple.
I'm sorry?
They heard Popple.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm not making a comment on whether or not the defense gets to bring this in front of the jury. I'm making a commentary on the jury doesn't hear our motion hearing, and I just want to.
They're not going to hear. Okay, I'm going to take evidence from each of these folks. Do you have? Is this a problem? So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. So this is why I want to do it this way. Okay. I want Hancock on the stand. You can question her about this issue, okay? Seth Kenny comes. You're going to do all of his testimony, including this, okay? Bowles is separate. He wasn't going to be testifying, okay? And on Bowles' testimony, the jury will leave, okay? And anything further on this motion, the jury will leave. But I think that they can do Hancock and Kenny in front of the jury.
Can Mr. Spiro and I approach?
Sure.
Oh my goodness. Andy the Game Maker, thanks so much for rejoining the YouTube membership. I guess you were updating your membership. One of the original supporters, the OGs, you were at chocolate chip cookie status. Thanks, of course, for always supporting the channel. Okay, let's get some questions while they approach. English bottle cap question. Surely the defense should have asked the CST who it was that instructed her to file the evidence under another case number. I think it probably was that other lieutenant who is also on that report. That's my guess, I guess. But it doesn't really matter because it was filed under a different case number. So, who there was responsible, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter. Not for the defense's perspective, at least. Majufi question, how is this a case at all? Baldwin was working where other people were responsible for making sure the set was safe. Baldwin believed HDR was doing her job. He was free to act. That's the defense's argument. Prosecution has a different perspective, though. They say safety is safety. It doesn't matter, whether you're an actor or someone else. If you've got something that's dangerous in your hand, you have to act reasonably around it, or act like a reasonable person would. Coach Fides, thanks so much for this super chat. Can I get a small synopsis on WTF is going on with this evidence? Talk to me, please, like I am 5. Okay, so the defense found out that there was a guy that brought in some live rounds to the Santa Fe Sheriff's Department and said, these are live rounds that are connected to the Rust case, and these also are sourced from Seth Kenny, this guy that we think absolutely brought those live rounds on set and is responsible for the death of Halyna Hutchins as a result. He brought those in at some point during he originally came and talked to them before the Hannah Gutierrez-Reed trial. I think he actually brought the live rounds after the trial, but all of this was essentially it feels like it was buried, because what they did was, what CST Popple did, the crime scene tech, and she says that she was instructed to do this, was to essentially treat this as not evidence for this case, and to put it under a different case number rather than the Rust case number. And so when the defense in this case requested all of the ammunition from the Santa Fe Sheriff's Department, all of the ammunition for this case, Santa Fe Sheriff's Department was like, okay, we'll give you all of the ammunition that's under the Rust case. But these rounds were not filed under the Rust case. They were filed on a different one that the defense apparently didn't know about. How would they know about it? So this feels very much like a Brady violation. Brady violation refers to the responsibility of the prosecution to hand over any and all exculpatory evidence to the defense when they request it. And so there is this big question of why did they file it under this other number? You know, what was the purpose? And then why didn't they also inform them this is not under the Rust case number, but this is in another case number and it's related, so we'll give you this too. Brady violations are the kind of things that can overturn a very, very strong conviction in a criminal case. So this could have some very, very big implications. Split Fries Media, Legalbytes. This woman reminds me of Amber Heard's lawyer. No. Carrie Morrissey she's got her own level of spice, but she's much more competent. She's actually, as annoying as she gets to a lot of people, as abrasive as she is far more competent than Elaine Bredehoft. Jan Brun Anderson, when does evidence become evidence? That's a good question, right? Here, it definitely has the feel like the law enforcement officers basically looked at this and said, it's not evidence. If it is something that is brought back from a crime scene, if it's something that seems like it's related, I mean, both sides should have the ability to analyze the information, all of the data that is connected to it that might lead to to a certain fact that is material being more or less true. Life on Makeup question: what if Stephen is listening to Legalbytes? I doubt it, but Stephen, if you are watching or if you are listening in right now, like, give us, I don't know, like a peace sign so we know. Next time the camera's on you. All right, Coach Fides, this actually helped a lot. Thank you. How rare is it that evidence and the judge are working with evidence like this in front of the court without the jury? This is rare. It's rare. It's quite rare. I've never seen something like this before. So yeah, thank you for the super chat. More questions here. Malik Marlene.
Tell Steve to bring the jury.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I've heard exculpatory and inculpatory a million times, and I still don't know what that means. Exculpatory means that it is information or evidence that tends to exonerate the defendant.
I call in the jury. This is on the record. I got to come with you. After I call in the jury, I'm taking a bathroom break, and we're probably taking a break for a good 20 minutes or half an hour even. Okay? Just want to settle.
That makes sense. So.
Yes, he's calling him in.
Okay. So exculpatory has a tendency to exonerate the defendant, meaning it gets them released from the charges. Inculpatory means that it has a tendency to show that the defendant is guilty. Lamao in regards to whether they are taking testimonies in front of jury or not. Are the jury members discouraged from watching this live feed right now since they aren't supposed to be there? Yes, they're not supposed to see anything on social media, anything in the media on this case. That is what that's what it means to do like independent research on the case. None of that. So they are not supposed to be doing any kind of research, to include watching any kind of feeds like this. That's a good way to get removed from the jury very quickly. Emily Atelier. Legalbytes, if the judge doesn't side with the defense on this, what could be the implications on this case? If she doesn't side with the defense on this, it just proceeds as normal through the trial. But I would guess that the defense is going to appeal that very quickly. Very, very quickly. ZND Fifth upgraded your membership to Megabyte Club. Thank you so much for doing that. Awesome. You're supporting, you're even more supporting the channel. Thank you so much. You're helping to keep the lights running on this whole channel here. Just because. Thanks for the super chat. Remember tiny TVs from the 1980s and 1990s? Maybe he's watching Judge Mathis or football. It could be. It could very well be. All right. Nick Wilson. Legalbytes, just to clarify, those are courtroom hearing devices, and Stephen Baldwin is using, as he has hearing loss. I didn't know that he had hearing loss. That's interesting. So he is listening to the court then. Okay.
All right, you may be seated. We're on the record. Jury, thank you for coming in. I'm going to recess you for the day. I'm sorry. Trials are fluid. It's not something we predicted. Okay.
Wow.
So if you all can return at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Monday. It's been a longer week than usual. Okay. So Monday. Okay. So have a great weekend. Please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court. Don't read any accounts. Don't do any research. Don't go on Google, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Thank you so much for your patience. Appreciate it.
I'll rise to the jury.
Oh my goodness. Wow. What a what a development, right? I don't think anybody expected that to happen. All right.
Thank you. We're still on the record. Can Ms. Popple gather this while we're on break?
We're just going to photograph it as she
All right. And then can she gather it on break?
Sure. Is she where?
Well, she needs to stay in the courthouse or be close by. Okay. Thank you. We are in recess.
Okay. Interesting. What a day. I don't think anybody anticipated this happening today. Okay. Let's get some questions here. L Borate, Legalbytes, can we get some more likes? Thank you so much for that. Yeah, if you guys are enjoying the coverage of this trial, this crazy trial, yeah, please do hit the like button. It really does help us with pushing the stream out and the channel out to more people. YouTube does it does like to see engagement. Oh yeah, let's see here. We'll go live. Okay, now we're back to live. YouTube does like to see more engagement. So, you know, when you engage in the chat, you engage in the comments, you hit the like button, all that stuff does help us. If you really want to support the channel, you know, with all the resources and everything that we put into it, becoming a member of Bite Club is like the best way to really support the channel, either through YouTube memberships or by supporting on Patreon. Both of those over the long term can help us pour all of those resources right into these trials and right into all of the other videos that we'd like to do in between. But if you can't, absolutely the best way to do it is by hitting the like button. So yes, we've got over 660 people in the chat now. Yeah, if you haven't done so, please do hit the like button. So yeah, I do see another, sorry, there's a more trial feed today. Yes, there will be. They're just on a recess for another like 10 minutes, I think. So we're going through questions while we wait. Sue B, Legalbytes, I think Stephen is doing his own court reporting. It could be. PBH, if this is recognized as a Brady, will this potentially turn into a mistrial? 100%. This would be completely dismissed. So yeah, this would be completely dismissed. Alrighty. Normsky 666. If under Brady, doesn't it have to be exculpatory? Yes. What you're looking for is exculpatory, which means that it has a tendency to show the innocence of the defendant. Yeah, I mean, but here they have that argument. They have that argument. I don't necessarily know that it's completely exculpatory, but like, yeah, I've got to look more into Brady violations right now, I think. Emily Atelier, Legalbytes, would it have been in Carrie's best interest to not have had the jury hear that? Not necessarily. Things happen. And then there's also questions about what would it have been without or with prejudice? I think so. Because I think double jeopardy attaches. Sue B, why do they do sidebars if there's no jury? Because sometimes they need to discuss things that they don't want caught on the cameras. For example, if there's confidential information involved, if there is information about identities of people, or you know, like there are a number of things that they wouldn't necessarily want the public at large to know about or to hear. Janet G, Legalbytes. So I believe this is where no jury, but she's hearing testimony regarding this hearing. So yes, that's what's going to be happening now today. Is we are going to be. Sorry, let me get these. There's a number of questions here. What we're going to be hearing now is, I think, more testimony for the hearing on the motion to dismiss for a potential Brady violation. Okay. PBH. Legalbytes, do you think it's realistic that they're dismissed because the judge wants to talk to Teske with defense and prosecutors? Yeah, I mean, I think she wants to hear from everyone. Everyone who's involved in this particular issue. Majufi question, how does the source of the ammunition matter if the charges have to do with Baldwin's behavior? I think that the issue here is that could completely precede the question of his involvement on the set. That's what their argument is anyway. I still think that you can see a way that two things are true at the same time, where let's assume that, you know, hypothetically, that this does mean that Seth Kenny is, you know, did in fact plant some live rounds on set. That's him getting then charged with murder. and then attempted murder because of because of but I still don't know, like, you can still have a world where that happens and then Alec Baldwin still is tried for involuntary manslaughter for not doing what he was supposed to be doing. So I don't know that that's completely exculpatory. But does it need to be completely? I don't necessarily know that it needs to be something that is going to completely bar his case, evidentiarily speaking. I don't know. I actually would like to talk to some criminal defense people, because my experience is first and foremost in civil litigation. So some of these issues, when we get down into really into the weeds on some of these, every once in a while I'm like, I want to talk to some people. I want to hear from some people. Andy the Game Maker, thanks so much for another super chat. I am the Stephen Baldwin of this chat. I don't know what that means. All right. Let me get another question here. Link Journey. Legalbytes, can we have a poll on if we believe the case will get dismissed or not under the Brady violation? That's not a bad idea. Give me a second here. Okay, yeah. I'll end the poll on this one, since it's not a testimony day now officially. Let me get this. Okay, give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. So we've got yes, no, and need more information, because I feel like we always have that. Also, Jan Brun Anderson, thank you so much for this generous super chat. It's been a while since I opened my wallet, so thank you so much. Very, very kind of you. Very generous. Debbie Faison Cook, Legalbytes, can you please explain exculpatory and probative? So for something to have probative value, for example, it has to have a tendency to prove something. So like this is where we can talk about like Latin roots to words: probative, probate, probate court. The word probate for probate court actually comes from the word proving the will. So that's it's talking about proof. So if something has probative value, it has a tendency to prove one thing or another. Exculpatory means that it is something that has a tendency to show that the defendant is not guilty or even innocent. So that's that. Inculpatory is the opposite. It's evidence that has a tendency to show that the defendant is guilty. All right. I hope that explains that. Emily Atelier, Legalbytes, what do you think changed the judge's mind on this testimony in front of the jury? I think, let me go back to my notes here. I think it could be partly because Carrie Morrissey said that she had never seen this before. Like, that was pretty crazy. Also, that brings me back to that thought. I wonder who she's chewing out right now in some hallway. I would, like I said, I would love to be a fly on the wall, because I can only imagine her wrath at this moment to be caught flat-footed on an issue like this at this point in the trial. But there's also the fact of this getting put under a different case number. The lieutenant who wrote a portion of the report saying this isn't evidence in the report. Like, that's weird. That's some weird ass stuff. So I don't know. I have a feeling it might be those details. All right. Brimbino, Legalbytes. If the law doesn't require an actor to on set to have any gun training and license, how can they say he is negligent if they don't require him to know how to proper or reasonable care with a gun? So you also don't need training or a license necessarily to go on a gun range. You can learn on a gun range. However, you can also be incredibly stupid with a firearm and end up killing someone and seeing criminal charges by being on a gun range and doing something stupid with it when you don't have any when you don't have like formal training or a license.
No, we're not. Where's everybody?
Also, someone else can just pick up a firearm without training or a license and do stupid things with it and also be held criminally liable for it. So like, you know, the fact of somebody not having a license, not requiring a license to be able to do something, like that, there's really no connection between those. You can still be stupid, and being stupid is not a defense under any legal theory. Well, I should even walk that back. There are probably some situations where being too stupid to do something is, or to know something, or to think something. There are situations where that actually could help, but this is not one of them. The stag, Legalbytes, does a person on trial have a right to hear what's being said by their attorney on sidebar in case they decide to bin them and hire someone else? Yeah, they can.
All
They,
right.
they can get the record still afterwards.
Call another witness. We're in the motion hearing.
Detective Hancock.
Okay, Detective Hancock.
Your Honor, just can we, I can do it after Detective Hancock.
What?
We may approach very quickly.
Yes.
1 second here. Oh, geez, I misspelled that. Okay. Okay. Times. Legalbytes, do you have any red cup merch? I do. I do indeed. If you go to the link in the description below to the merch store, mods might have it in the chat as well. Every once in a while, they like to put that link in the chat. We do. We've got some merch for the red solo cups from the Karen Reed trial. English bottle cap question. Since the new evidence was given to HDR's attorney, would it be significant that it was never used? I don't know that it was actually handed over to Bowles, especially since Morrissey hadn't seen it herself. I doubt that Bowles actually got it. There's a question of what he knew and when, but I mean, it seems like all of the attorneys are just now learning about this, and it's law enforcement that didn't tell anyone. Literally anyone, to include the prosecutor. Lara K, Legalbytes, could all of this have some effect on HDR and the ruling in her case? I think it could, potentially, depending on the timing of this before her trial. I mean, there definitely could be something, and also like what kind of requests that Bowles made and all that kind of stuff. Oh, Indie Bear. Hang on. We need some indie love. Hey, puppers. All right. I think that's all the questions. We are actually caught up, are we? We are like completely caught up. Debbie Faison on Cook. I have the cup that says important evidence. Do not tamper with. Red Solo cup on it that says Legalbytes. Awesome. Yes, that is in the merch store. Hey, puppy. Hang on. There we go. All right. I'm so used to being able to like just fast forward through these. This is such a weird experience being completely caught up. Yeah, and NPC, I'm not. This is a good point. Even after 2 accidents, the stuntman shooting around and Sarah shooting her near her foot, and then people walking off set, no one decided to have the gun checked just in case. That's a good point. Jerry Roth, Legalbytes. Can we get Andy Bear, are you leaving us? What are you doing? Where are you going, pup? All right. Well, can we get love for Stephen Baldwin? I feel he's underappreciated. I actually don't know anything about Stephen Baldwin, to be completely honest with you. Firefly Bakery Sweets. So it looks like the evidence was put into red Solo cups. It kind of feels like it, right? It has a similar feel to it.
Solo cup, I fill you up.
Right? It does kind of feel like it a little bit. Debbie Faison Cook, you should put mugs with the pets on them in the merch store too. That is a fantastic idea. I don't know why I didn't think about that. Thank you for that idea. I will definitely be making that modification. El Borate, Legalbytes, what would your ruling be? Well, I do want to hear more evidence before making a very strong decision, but I am leaning towards this being a serious violation by law enforcement. So yeah, but I do want to see more testimony. Jerry Roth, Legalbytes. He was in The Usual Suspects and Barney Rubble and Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas. Oh my gosh, that is really funny. Yeah, I do know that he's. Is it sad that I don't really know all that much about him other than he's Alec Baldwin's brother and he's Justin Bieber's father-in-law and Hailey Bieber's father. I don't even know anything about Hailey Bieber other than she's connected to Alec Baldwin and Justin Bieber. A lot of these people are just like you hear about them in and like on social media and essentially in like modern day tabloids, and like other than that, like what have they done? I don't know. Like so many of these people, I get like a passing reference of who they are. So yeah. PBH, Legalbytes, Stephen is almost an exact opposite to Alec. He's a Christian MAGA conservative. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting when you have people in the family that are so diametrically opposed, but he clearly supports his brother in his time of need. So that's also very interesting. Heather Miller, thank you so much for the super chat. I am kind of torn on this. As an actor, I don't think he is guilty, but as a producer, I absolutely do. But the jury doesn't know he was a producer on Rust, right? Yeah. So far, that has been kept out of the kept out of testimony, out of evidence. So I don't know that they're going to hear about him being a producer, except for when it comes up with the other witnesses who are the crew members on set. So yeah, I don't know. They might talk about it in relation to like their lawsuits against him and others and that kind of thing. Draco Amy, on Legalbytes, I'm still waiting on the "Don't Be Suspicious" hoodie, or is that a copyright issue? No, not necessarily. I don't think so. I don't think that's a copyright issue. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know that we have a hoodie for it, but I think we do have it on like mugs and things like that. If I remember correctly, we should. I'm pretty sure I did. So, yeah. Okay. Firefly Bakery Sweets, Legalbytes. I would totally buy merch with your animals on them. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I think that's something that we probably could do here. John O'Rourke, Biodome, LOLOL. Thank you so much for the super chat. And Firefly Bakery Sweets, Legalbytes, you can do a Don't Be Suspicious hoodie with a solo cup. That's also true. That is also very true. Well, alrighty. This is a long sidebar, especially when the jury's not even in the room. And yeah, we're live. So we're going to hear from Detective Hancock. And then we're going to hear from, I suppose, from Seth Kenny as well. Who else are we going to hear from today? NPC, I'm not. Who decided to go for the who decided not to go for the inexperienced or the experienced armorer? Gosh, I'm really messing up this question. And that person I think is very guilty. Well, I've seen interviews with another armorer who said he was supposed to be the armorer for this role and that he decided not to take the job because he was very concerned about safety on set. So I think that here, I think that here it probably was not so much about. So I just want to make sure it was still playing because everyone is like super still. I think it was less about finding someone specifically who was inexperienced and more about finding the most experienced person that they could get under the circumstances. That's my impression. I think that they were probably very pressed to find someone, and this is the best that they could get. Firefly Bakery Sweets question: how are you feeling today? You are looking fantastic. Thank you. I am a little more sluggish. You know, it's Friday, a Friday on a trial day. These trial days do get to be pretty long. But overall, I'm feeling well. Thank you for asking. Times Legalbytes, who do you think should play Alec Baldwin in the made-for-TV movie of this trial? It can't be anyone other than Alec Baldwin, obviously. Travis James, question: why doesn't the defense lean on the sabotage angle? Well, they want to. What am I saying here? They want to. They need to have enough evidence to be able to properly rely on it. Jerry Roth, Legalbytes, can a lawyer get in trouble for giving the finger in court? Yeah, absolutely can. You can get in trouble for a lot less than that, even. Yeah. Let's see here. Soluble hamster Nick Cage should play Baldwin in the TV movie. That's funny. That would. I feel like that would just be such a weird movie. Sue B, I just want to thank you for your kindness and explanations. Love your baby bump. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. The bump is getting, of course, bigger by the day. It's so funny. Like I almost want to like look back at the Karen Reed like early days and like see what it looked like back then, because it's like now it's like it's really, it's interfering in everything. I was eating, having a meal earlier today, having like a kind of like an early dinner, I guess, for me. And I was like sitting at the table and I'm like I can't, what, there's something getting in my way. And I'm like, I'm getting in my way. That's what's happening. I'm getting in my own way by trying to sit here at the table with this ginormous bump that is just growing by the day. Manny Fabani, thank you for being a member for 23 months. Wait, what happened? Brady violation? So today, testimony. Okay, so for anybody who is coming in that has not been here for the last couple hours, originally we were supposed to hear testimony today. The jury was told to come in at 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time as opposed to 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time, which was what they were doing prior to this every day. First couple days. And so they were going to have this hearing beforehand to go over some sort of motions on something, evidentiary motions, some sort of an issue that the parties wanted to be heard. We didn't know exactly what it was. But as it turns out, it's this issue that is a potential Brady violation where someone came in to the Santa Fe Sheriff's Department at some point. The timing for me is the timeline needs to be a little bit cleared up for me. I think that originally he was interviewed before the Hannah Gutierrez-Reed trial. I think he came back after the trial and brought in these live rounds. Anyway, so he came in and brought these live rounds after the trial, after the Hannah Gutierrez-Reed trial. The crime scene technician was instructed by someone, we don't know exactly who, instructed by someone to put those live rounds under a different case number other than the Rust case number, which all of the evidence in this case was always put under the Rust case number. So this is like all of these rounds suddenly are just pushed off to the side under a completely different case number, not referenced anywhere in this case at all by anyone. And then the defense did what the defense is going to do, which is to request all of the ammunition in this particular case and to say, hey, we want all of the ammunition. We're entitled to it. It's potentially exculpatory. And the Santa Fe Sheriff's Department responded, okay, we'll give you all the ammunition that is in the Rust case number. But remember, these live rounds were put under the other case number. So they didn't give these over to the defense. So yeah, this is a little suspicious for sure. So now what they're going to do is they're bringing in witnesses for this specific issue. The jury's been dismissed for the whole day. They didn't get to hear any testimony today. They were just sitting around for a while. They're going to have to come back on Monday. Oh, what happened here? Hang on. Yeah, sorry. My computer was getting notifications from things. Okay. So yeah, jury was dismissed for the day. The rest of the day is now a hearing, and we're going to hear from witnesses on this whole issue. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Jerry Roth, Legalbytes, is it wrong? I want a mistrial just to show Carrie's smugness and rudeness isn't a winning position. Well, but that's, the two aren't really connected. I definitely understand why. But to be fair, she also didn't know about this evidence. John O'Rourke, Thank you so much for the super chat. I can't believe everyone was wearing gloves all morning handling that ammo. And then Carrie picks it up immediately with her fingers. LOL. Geez. I know. I know, but it kind of goes with the theme though, right? It kind of goes with the theme that the prosecution's side, even though she didn't know about it, they were treating it as not evidence. So, kind of funny. Jerry Roth, Legalbytes, Billy Baldwin should play Alec in the movie. Billy is the brother known for homicide life on the street. That's funny. Nico K. Have the pets been curious about the bump? They not all that curious, to be honest. Holmes has definitely walked on the bump before, and so has Mavi. But Holmes has started to sleep, like you're supposed to sleep on your side. And so Holmes has a couple times like slept on my side multiple times at night. Sue B, Legalbytes, just wait till you can't get up on. That's funny. Travis James, question, should the judge rule on the Brady violation before hearing more testimony? It sounds like she was going to hear more testimony in front of the jury. So yeah, she was at first, that's why Carrie Morrissey was asking about clarification for that, because that sounded like that was going to be messy, where it's like, okay, jury come in, listen to testimony, and then jury go out, and we'll have this witness continue, but you're gonna talk about testimony related to this motion. I don't know. I'm glad that she ended up just dismissing them for the day and just focusing on this particular issue. MYH10, Legalbytes, I still don't see why a random person turning irrelevant stuff in should automatically be included in a given case. But you don't know that it's irrelevant. It is relevant. That's the thing, it is relevant. The question is just how probative is it? But that goes to the weight, not the admissibility. Give me 1 second here. English bottle cap. Question, could it be that the evidence was deliberately put under a different case number exactly for sabotaging the Baldwin trial? I think that's one of the defense's arguments here, for sure. Let's see here. MYH10, Legalbytes, if that's a standard, then the only thing the cops could not cause a Brady violation is to include everything anyone gives them, even that could be related, no matter how unlikely. I do want to say that I really want to do research on Brady violations right now, just to see where the right and left limits are, other than the basics of it. But I don't think that it goes as far as what you're saying, to say that the only thing that cops could not cause a Brady violation is to include everything anyone gives them. I mean, because here's the thing, like, here's the standard for civil discovery. If you have an information request, if you have an information request from the other side, they're requesting all information that is like related to a particular issue. It doesn't have to be a central issue in the case. The standard for discovery is it's the other side is entitled to information that might lead to admissible evidence. So like that's the standard for turning over evidence from one side to another. And so the standard for criminal cases is not really all that different. So when it comes to like what information both sides are entitled to from one another, like it's a lot. You're entitled to a lot of information. You can't just decide, well, this is not going to be admissible, so therefore you can't have it. There's there are some limitations to that. There's some exclusions to that. For example, stuff that is outright privileged. For example, communications between lawyers and their clients, communications between spouses, of course, assuming that these are communications that are done with a reasonable expectation of privacy. If these are conversations that are, out in the middle of a hallway where there's a bunch of people, that's not privileged. But if there is, text messages between two spouses, that's going to be privileged, most likely. So, like, generally speaking, when it comes to discovery, it's very, very, very broad. And that includes criminal cases too. So, if the issue, if the question here is, how much of a burden do we want to put on law enforcement in handing over information to the defense? We don't really care about that. We don't care about the burden on law enforcement so much as we care about the defendant's civil rights. That's definitely what we care a lot more about. Overcooked octopus feet. What's Legalbytes' thoughts on the likelihood of a case dismissal? Well, I definitely need more information, for sure. I want to see all of the testimony coming in. Firefly Sweets. Legalbytes. I personally think Carrie's pretending to not know about this evidence, to be honest. No, I don't know. I don't have that impression. She is a lot of things. She is a lot of things. She's very spicy. She's very dramatic. She's very, I don't know, just snarky. But I don't think that she's dishonest. I've never gotten the impression from her that she's like slick or dishonest like that. At least she hasn't given me any reason to think that. Doctor Who 8675309. Sorry, wait, there was sorry. Oh, hang on. Gotta go way down here. Thought I was pulling this one up. Even if the case is not dismissed, there are certainly appeal vectors opened up. Should he be convicted? Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. MYH10, thinking more about it, if the cops actually took possession of the rounds, it's an issue. But what if they just said, no, I don't think this is useful, go away, still a Brady violation? Yeah. Yeah. Because they can take that perspective. The defense might look at it differently. Anytime you have any piece of evidence that is in any kind of a case, you've got one side that's saying, this isn't worth that much. This is junk. This is worthless. This is why this should be disregarded. You always have one side that's saying that. And then you always have the other side that's saying, actually, there are a lot of reasons why this is great evidence. You should totally give this a lot of weight. You should totally put your eyeballs all over this thing. So the fact that law enforcement made a determination of like, nah, this isn't useful, go away. That doesn't matter. That doesn't that shouldn't play any kind of a role for a Brady violation, because think about it. If there was that as the standard and the police were able to decide one way or another, and then that can be the guiding force for what is and isn't a Brady violation, that would swallow the rule of Brady violations, because they could always just say, well, this is our discretion. We don't think this is important. So, nah, you're not entitled to it. NYH10, good question. Okay, so cops have zero discretion. Someone from China calls them claiming to have evidence. They have a duty to record it and disclose it. I don't know that we can go that far. I don't know that we can go that far, but something similar. What is happening now? What's going on here? Sue B, question, can we call this the most boring yet interesting day of trials? Been with you from Deb V. Heard. My goodness. Well, thank you so much for sticking with us since then. That's awesome. But yeah, this is the most uninteresting yet interesting day of court so far, for sure. Doctor Who, 8675309, if AB ends up getting away with this, it's an absolute tragedy that HDR is the fall girl for this show of a set. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Not everyone agrees that this is something that should be that should be leading to a conviction. Live court is on a break. What time is it in the courtroom? It is 11:30. Let me check Twitter to see if there's anybody from inside the courtroom that is saying anything about if we are at lunch. Okay. All I've seen so far is Anjanette Levy saying jury's being dismissed for the weekend. Trials are fluid, Judge Marlo Summer says. Okay, that was an hour ago, though. Sorry, guys, give me 1 second here. Okay. Can't see that. Okay. Well, more questions. Let me move on down the line. Firefly Bakery Sweets. Legalbytes. Wonder if Hancock has had time to now think about what to say, even being taken out of the court. You think Carrie or someone else talked to her about what is going on? I'm sure someone has. She's not going to go in completely blind. Juror 13 question, who, if anybody, is better at streaming trials than Legalbytes? Oh, you are too kind. You are far too kind. There are plenty of people who are actually better at streaming in general than me, but I very much appreciate that. John O'Rourke question. Is a Brady violation the same as being put on the Brady list or similar? I think that they might have like a connection between them, but it's not the same action. So a Brady list is basically, it's a public facing database of information about police misconduct, public complaints, and that kind of thing. So law enforcement that is responsible for a Brady violation could end up on a Brady list, but that's not necessarily the same thing. A Brady violation is it's a legal determination that is made in a court of law. So it's I think similar and related, but I don't think it's I wouldn't say it's the same thing. Moving on down the line. Jay Trudeau, could they try to hammer out a plea agreement? Sure, but I don't know if the defense would be interested in this particular moment. MYH10, seems like there has to be a limit because otherwise you can manipulate the system from the other end, disrupt the proceedings with conveniently timed disclosures from Good Samaritans. That's a lot harder to do though. I would much rather run the risk of having that happening than the inverse. Where because the law enforcement is the side that has the control over the evidence in a case. They're the ones that are the custodians of all of that evidence. So if you're going to have a requirement that someone have a heftier burden, it should be on them because they're the ones with all the power. And I'm saying this like not as someone who's like anti-law enforcement, by the way. Like this is just we're just talking about like what is appropriate in terms of one side has certain abilities and how do those abilities get abused and what's the consequences of those getting abused. Because again, like the defense falls under the weight of the state. Those are some serious consequences. We really care about the civil rights of the defendant. We don't there are no civil rights that we care about with the police department. Moving on down the line. Draco Amy question define better and objection hearsay. I don't know what you mean by better, but hearsay, the definition of hearsay is an out-of-court statement offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. So when someone is trying to testify that someone walked up to them and said, I saw so-and-so shoot so-and-so, that's usually not going to be able to come in because it's going to be hearsay because it's being offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. It's an out-of-court statement. So it's being offered to prove that that person saw so-and-so shoot so-and-so. Oh, I see what you're saying. You said that other streamers were better. I'm saying objection. I appreciate that. But no, I maintain what I said. Melanie Lowe, question, if this case is dismissed, can they retry? If for a Brady violation, hang on, let me do some research on the fly, guys. So if the attorneys discover the Brady violation before the trial commences, they can file a motion challenging that evidence. Then they may also file a motion for the dismissal of all charges with prejudice. The prosecutors will not be able to bring the same charges against the defendant a second time if the motion is approved. All right. So, I mean, it depends on Nico K. Objection. The witness LB is telling fibs. I appreciate that. Okay. WP is uncooked. Legalbytes, I can't remember if you answered my question. If this gets dismissed, will it be with or without prejudice? It depends on if they bring the motion to dismiss it with prejudice. I think it probably would be. I know that they would definitely bring it with prejudice. I think that it probably would be. Because I think double jeopardy would attach. Moving on down the line, Megan Rose. I thought a Brady violation was big name brands putting Tom Brady in commercials. That's the other kind of Brady violation. Moving on down the line. Oh, that's interesting. Todd and Karen Music. Danny on Direct, on Civil Law, Good Logic, Andrew Burkhardt are all saying it looks like a plea deal being drafted over on their stream. Oh, that's interesting. Also, Sandy gifted 20 whole Legal Bites memberships. That is so kind and generous of you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And also one of our awesome mods. So let's see here. Janine, Juror 13, Times, Lady Mook, MYH10, The Great Green Arkle Seizure, John Long, Alyssa Waldschmidt. Let's see here. Elite Ninja, Johnny Gruyan, Mrs. Mack. Oh my God, so many people. Adria Hernandez, Luke Moore, Monica Vecchione. Oh no, it just scrolled up. Okay. Jeanette Schroer, Val Hall, Suzanne Griffin, Key Air Denton, Casey. You have all been gifted memberships by Sandy. So welcome or welcome back to Bike Club. Very happy to have all of you here. Awesome. Jerry Roth, did they break for lunch? I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know if they did. I'm trying to see that on Twitter at the same time as I'm doing this. Ah, 15-minute break. It's been more than 15 minutes, though. All righty. Let's see here. Moving on down the line. Whiskey Bow, thank you so much for the super chat. I don't think Carrie knew about it because it doesn't help or hurt her point she's trying to make, which is that AB was reckless. Why would she try to hide that? Yeah, I don't think that she would try to hide that. I agree with you. I don't. My impression is I think that she legitimately did not know about that. Rattlesnake became a member of Bike Club. Oh, I see. Welcome back to Bike Club because you're at croissant level. Very happy to have you here. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and helping to keep the lights on. Really, really appreciate that. And moving on down. You said updating my membership. So yes, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. We are moving on down the line. Let's see. Firefly Bakery Sweets, member for 1 month with the member chat. Thank you so much for being a member for 1 whole month. Shout out to Sandy. She's a rock star to gift so many. Agreed. She's one of our serial gifters, which is wonderful. I love seeing the generosity in the community for all of the community. I love it. Mantha Johnny, been away and mainly watching background, but wanted to say you look amazing and congratulations. Healthy, happy baby. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thank you. El Borate, did you see my question about ranking judges? No, I didn't see that. I'm so sorry. If you just put it in the chat, then I should be able to get in there. Okay, I'm up to date on questions. So hang on. Let me see here. Okay. I'm looking at the Twitters. You know, that could have been the reason why. So there was a moment on the feed where Alec Baldwin came in and sat down next to Hilaria, and he was like talking in her ear, and she's like got her hand on his face. That sounded like they were having an important discussion, or he was telling her something important. It could be that his attorneys informed him, hey, we got word of a plea deal. And he wanted to talk to his wife about it. That'd be interesting. All right. Got some more questions up in here. Let me see here. Just want to make sure I don't miss any. Oh, and also just because upgraded membership to Superbike Club. Thank you so much for upgrading. Really, really appreciate that too. We've got some upgrades today. That's awesome. Janet G, Legalbytes, if the prosecution says they never saw these bullets and never saw the report, would that exclude the Brady violation? Would it just call to judgment or cover up by the police? No, I think that's still a Brady violation because it's by law enforcement. Mountain Princess 207, Legalbytes Hoslong to 250K. Still got a ways to go. Definitely less than 800 subs away, but we've got a ways to go through this trial. Perth Super Swift, Legalbytes. Any chance there's something happening soon, or am I safe to go to bed? I really don't know. It's so hard to tell because they didn't give any information in the open courtroom before they just like went to a recess. Laura Harwood, is there anywhere we can send baby bite gifts? You do look like you're blooming. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So that's been a question. I've been meaning to get a PO box up for a while, and folks have been asking for it for a while. So if that is something that I can finally get done, I will be letting you guys know for sure. So, but I really, really, really appreciate it. Okay, so still going to be searching for any updates here. Okay. So there is a tweet from Kathy Russon from Law and Crime saying, now judge calls another recess until 11:45 Mountain Time. Oh, no, that was wait, what time is it now? So for another like 5 minutes or something. Let me see here if there's anything else. Yeah, I don't. Okay. All right. We've got to just wait, I suppose. Jay Trudeau, just a 7-minute break. No, it actually was like a 20 or 25-minute break. We just were answering questions and whatnot. So by the time I saw it, it's like 7 minutes away or what have you. Ash Rock, Legalbytes, are we aware of if either side knew about the evidence before trial? It feels unfair to prosecution to dismiss with no retrial. If it was police's fault, it feels more just to retry. No, that's not. We don't. Here's the thing. Like, yes, we care about fairness to both sides. We care more about the rights of the defendant, though. And when it comes to a Brady violation, law enforcement and prosecution are essentially one entity. So they should be communicating with one another. They have every single reason to be communicating with one another. If law enforcement was keeping things even from the prosecutor to try to prevent this from getting out, that's on them. And the prosecutor is going to have to, see those consequences by getting the case dismissed. But that does not mean that we should just ignore the fact that a Brady violation has happened. So to me, like fair is fair. Like prosecutor is going to have to come down hard on law enforcement and say this better not happen ever again. So, like for Carrie Morrissey, I'm sure she'd be pissed. Of course, why wouldn't she be? She'd have every reason to be pissed. But that doesn't mean that that's good enough for ignoring a Brady violation, because that's somebody's constitutional rights. We care a lot more about constitutional rights of the defendant. Jay Trudeau became a YouTube member. Welcome to Bite Club, Jay Trudeau. Very happy to have you here. Welcome to Bite Club. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and for, like I've said before, for keeping the lights on. Really appreciate it. And Wings, Legalbytes, at the very beginning of the day, did the defense say they had pictures Cam was giving signals to witnesses on how to answer, or am I crazy? Not to witnesses. They said that she was signaling to the jury. And I think that what they say that she was signaling was the middle finger. And not saying that she was giving the jury the middle finger, but she was communicating that to them as in, like, screw these guys that I'm talking to right now. Kind of. I think that's what they were insinuating. I don't know how I land on that one, because a lot of people use their middle finger to, like, as a pointer. And I don't know. It could be taken out of context. It feels a little bit like maybe that's just a little bit of a stretch. So I don't know. But maybe she was. She's very snarky, but I don't know that she's that snarky. Doozy0201, Legalbytes, will L&D be returning? Well, I am always a guest on that one, so I can't really say for sure. I know we've talked about doing one-offs and whatnot, probably fewer like campaigns moving forward, because those really take a lot of planning and a lot of resources and a lot of calendaring. But I would love to. I would love to do more Lawyers and Dragons. Jay Trudeau, Legalbytes, thank you. I thoroughly enjoy your coverage since the Johnny Depp trial. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I'm so happy to have you here and have you sticking around since the Depp trial. It's been a couple years now. Let me see here. Coming on down the line. Just want to make sure that I get this. The Lucian, I kind of missed the Depp trial. I already missed the KR trial. Wild, that one. Well, we're supposedly getting a second one at some point. So, yeah, it was wild. It was absolutely wild. El Bore, did my question not come through again on the judges? Mods, if you saw the question, I didn't see a question. Did you tag me in it? Because I've gone through. Let me scroll up through here and see if, again, on this. I'm really, really sorry. But I have been looking for. Oh, wait a second. I see it. Okay. Let me find it on StreamYard now. I've got to go up a bit. Hang on. I think I'm almost there. Aha. Rank these judges. Ascarate, Glanville, H. Carroll, A.B. Judge, Canone. Well, H. Carroll, I haven't watched that one, so I can't give any opinions on that judge. I can say I would say Ascarate is number one. Perfect judge. She was super fair. She was super organized. Like she ran her courtroom the way that I like to see courtrooms run. She has a rule. She has she has a rule and she enforces it. And she enforces it evenly. I like that. I really like that about her. I had zero problems with Judge Ascarate ever. Judge Glanville, I would put on the opposite end of the spectrum. That is the judge. Oh, by the way, Judge Ascarate was from the Deputy Heard trial. Judge Glanville. Oh, we can see the courtroom feed again. Still no sound.
Turn to the jury. Caution them. Okay, all right, there you go, 1 o'clock, bye.
All rise.
Okay, so it looks like there's a recess until 1 o'clock. Glanville's on the opposite side. That's the YNW Melly trial where there's this whole controversy over an ex parte, what's it called? An ex parte. I'm totally brain farting today. I'm so sorry, guys. There was an ex parte essentially hearing meeting with the prosecution without the defense attorneys and with a witness and with the witness's attorney. So many issues there that just continued to balloon with that particular judge. Opposite end of the spectrum. The AB judge, I would say probably next to Oscarati, Canoni, just on the other side of the AB judge, maybe about evenly ranked. The only real complaint that I have about this particular judge is her not enforcing her own rules. Today, she's definitely been laying a bit more of a hammer down, which is nice. I like that. I like to see that. Otherwise, Carrie Morrissey's kind of been steamrolling her a bit and almost like bullying her a bit. And I don't really like to see that. And I also saw from Debbie Fiazon Cook, throw Judge Doro in there. Yes, she's right up there with Judge Oscarati. She was someone who also controlled her court. She had a soft sit in her courtroom. It's the only time I've seen her. I know she's done some other cases as well that have been shown. They've been televised, or at least one other case. But no, I really liked her. She kept a really, really good, clear record in that case. Alrighty. I think there might be some other questions here. Firefly Bakery Sweets. Legalbytes, I really enjoy all of your videos. You are honest for both sides, and I continue to learn from watching your streams. Thank you again for being willing to share your knowledge with us all. Of course. Absolutely. My pleasure. So, and thank you so much for the kind words. And we've got one more question here. Jerry Roth, Legalbytes, is this the official lunch break or something else? The way the judge said bye, she seemed P-double-ist. Yeah, she's definitely irritated, I think. But I think that was, I don't know. They must have had some sort of a sidebar communication about timing or something. So this does appear to be an official lunch break. So, and according to what Court TV was showing, we're coming back 3 p.m. East Coast time, 1 p.m. Mountain time. So what I will do is actually end the stream here because we've got we're all caught up on questions and everything. We might as well take a break. This is going to redirect directly into the next stream so long as I do what I need to do. And also I'm gonna end the poll. So before anybody tells me that they need to see that in the chat, give me a second. Let me make this. What time is it now? Okay, so yeah, I have that right. I need to make the live stream public. Okay. All right. So this is going to redirect right into the next live stream. I'm also going to put social media out there for links to the next stream for the afternoon stream. We're going to see some more testimony from some other witnesses on this issue of this potential Brady violation, unless we see some news about some kind of a plea deal. I don't know. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. Maybe this turns into a hearing. We'll see. So as you can see here, it says lunch break until 3 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, cool. All right, folks. Poll results. See here, and the poll. All right, 531 votes. Do you think this case will get dismissed under a Brady violation? Need more information? 41%. 31% said yes. 27% said no. So we'll see. All right. We are going to end this one, and I will see you guys in the next one.